not racist, am I? Everybody seems to think they aren't, but a college in North Carolina says you probably are if you have this one trait. And we're going to talk about that here today on Speechless. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless. I'm your host, Kev Phares, 23-year-old conservative activist, host of Speechless, which is not only a radio show, but a podcast right here on YouTube or wherever you're watching from. And to make sure you don't miss a minute of it, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, all that fun stuff. But let's get right on into it. I'm not racist, am I? That's a question everybody seems to be asking themselves, especially after George Floyd's overdose back in 2020, in which the media and pretty much the entirety of society has pushed this idea that, well, maybe we're a lot more racist than we think, that systemic racism is the thing that plagues every single inch of society. And it's quite the boogeyman, considering, well, you might not be able to see it, you might not even think it, and you might even be doing everything just short of kissing the feet of Black people. You're still a racist somehow. And a college in North Carolina is facing backlash after forcing athletes to watch a truly racist video. This is from the College Fix, which is actually a great publication. I recommend everybody go check out the College Fix. But Davidson College alumni are calling for change after student athletes recently were required to watch the video, quote, "I'm not racist, am I?" which labels all white people as racists. The Davidsonians for Freedom of Thought and Discourse, an alumni-run free speech organization, exposed and denounced the video after learning that the North Carolina institution forced student athletes to watch it this semester. And we actually have a clip from this documentary, this video, right here. So let's react to this, take a look and a listen right here.
Really, up to this point, we've kind of hinted at, but have we really talked about racism?
Not really.
When we talk about racism in this country, we usually talk about it in two different ways. And it's important to distinguish. We talk about individual meanness as the first way. Meanness, hate, and then we have another idea of how we interpret it. We talk about collective power, groups enacting policies, discrimination, segregation. But most of us, especially in the white community, go with the first interpretation, individual meanness.
You kind of hear a lot, like, especially in the media, like, I'm not racist. Like, I have friends that are Black or whatever, and they think that they're not racist because of that.
Yeah. So that's a great example. So if we diagnose racism as individual meanness, the way we're going to treat it is by making sure everyone's nice to each other. But if we diagnose it as collective power, then we got something else to do to treat it.
So here's what he's saying so far. Okay, so what he's saying so far is the way that racism has always been thought is that if you are discriminatory based on somebody's race, then that's racism. Seems like a pretty solid definition to me. Oh, but he's like, no. The definition of racism, that's not really it. No. If we see racism as this more nebulous idea of just power, and that's racism, oh, well, then being nice to people and not discriminating against people doesn't actually solve the problem. Why do they do this? He's going to kind of talk about it a little bit more as to why they do this. So kind of say the quiet part out loud, but I'll give you a hint. Spoiler alert. The reason they do this is because you can't keep people in the same metaphorical cage to keep them voting for the same systems of power that they will complain about if you don't change the definition and make them feel like they're still a victim of something. And that's what he explains here.
This is the People's Institute definition of racism, and we're not the only folks that use it. There's lots of different organizations in the country that use this. So we're just going to break this down. It seems pretty simple, right? The last part of that equation, what is power? Power is the legitimate and collective control or access to those systems sanctioned by the state. And we mean the state, we mean the country. Racism is the misuse of power in three ways. It hurts and controls people of color. It helps white people.
Oh, oh. So no longer is racism, hey, let's not discriminate against people based on their race. No, now racism is if it helps white people. If something happens that helps white people, then in some way it could be racist. That's what he says.
And it's designed to make everyone go along with a racial construct. And which one do you think is most important out of these three? Of why, which one was racism set up to do?
Help white people.
Help white people. That's all it is.
Okay. So you want to know, what is a racial construct? What is a racial construct? What is something that is constructed purely based on race? Well, actually, racism is one of the only things that's a racial construct. Also, okay, you want to know something that's racist by this definition? So, hurting and controlling people of color. The Democrat Party does that. Helps white people. Democrat Party sure does have a lot of white people. Makes everyone go along with a racial construct. Racism, which was founded within the Democratic Party. Oh my gosh, you don't know what's racist even by their own definition? The Democratic Party and progressivism. Oh, but they wouldn't like to hear that, would they?
The fact that it hurts and controls people of color,
Democrat.
that's just an effect.
I don't think that racism is only white people being racist against like other like minorities. I think like minorities can be racist against like white people too.
Oh my God. Okay, so this Asian girl comes out of nowhere, out of left field with the absolute alley-oop on this flipping racist guy right here being like, hey, like maybe people actually can be mean and racist and discriminatory and prejudiced towards white people. Like maybe. And now listen, she's like going up with the alley-oop and this guy comes out of nowhere like Jordan. He's like,
Yeah.
Are we talking about individual meanness or collective power? We would call that bigotry. We wouldn't call that racism. And we continue to change the idea of who is white, who gets into the club and who doesn't. And you know how we do it? We never define what white is. We just tell you whether you're not.
You just don't, but you don't even really define what racism is, sir. You seem to love definitions and trying to say that people don't define their terms. No, white is pretty simple. And this is the problem with these people that push this race idea, is that everybody who doesn't really care, the people that like are like CRT is the problem, or you telling me that I'm racist because I'm white, is the people that are normal are like, oh, the person who is white is the person with fair skin. The person who is black is the person that visually has more melanin, a higher melanin content. And so that's what decides it. But what we really value a lot more is people's cultural backgrounds. Are you Irish? Because that comes with a litany of cultural expectations and also like a food and a rich, vibrant like personality behind that. Are you Italian? Are you? And that's what defines white. But then also within African American or within black, there could be that you're an African American. It could also mean that you're Egyptian. You could be so many different things. But it's the people that want to just simply say, oh, well, white doesn't even have a definition. We changed what white actually is, blah, blah. No. It's pretty simple, and you're making it more complicated.
We would also say that it's only white people that could be racist.
Excuse me. That in and of itself is bigotry, as you would say, racist, as I would say, and asinine, as anyone with a reasonable level of brain cells would say.
That are racist. And that people of color cannot be.
I don't see a single, this is the funny thing too, is all these kids, like some of them are like kind of taking notes, but all of them are sitting there like, I don't know, maybe.
Let me tell you what he's not saying on the second part. He's not saying that people of color can't be bigots, can't express racial prejudice, can't try to engage in acts of discrimination against white people, can't do real stupid things filled with hate. We're saying that collectively, Blacks, Latinos, and other groups do not have the power to collectively oppress white people through the use of our systems.
We're asking folks to recycle their definition.
Not totally true. Absolutely possible. But also, again, it's a different statement to say that we as a racial group don't necessarily have the collective power to oppress another group. That's different than saying I can't be racist. Because racism has a definition, and the one you're placing on it is not the real definition.
Definition of what a racist is. Because you're looking at it as individual meanness.
So racism isn't used when people are prejudiced against whites because of the history?
Because of the power. If you were prejudiced against me, you could have racial prejudice against me. But it's the power and the access to all these systems. Who do we normally think of as racist?
Like rednecks, uneducated.
Like conservatives?
Oh!
All right, so we're going to do an experiment.
Okay, this is the thing, though, is that just because you believe those, isn't it kind of in and of itself kind of prejudice and bigoted to say, oh, well, a redneck is what I think of when I think of a racist, or a conservative is what I think of when I think of a racist? Is that not in and of itself kind of bigoted in some way? And individual meanness? Maybe an example of individual meanness? Idiots.
And tomorrow, we're going to round them all up on planet Earth, and we're going to send them, to outer space. Tell me, tomorrow, they're all gone. Would this still exist? That's why we're saying that racism isn't about individual meanness. You don't.
No. The reason why it would still exist is because you just used a bigoted idea to define who's racist. Because maybe, just maybe, the people that actually are racist are Democrats. And those who try to cover up their racistness by trying to push crap like this. Like they're like, I'm so not racist that I will admit, because I'm a white person, that I will always be racist. Like those people, maybe it's not your like Farmer Joe from Hickabilly, Alabama. I don't know. Maybe it's because you are more of the problem than you think.
Don't need those individual folks to keep this system as a well-oiled machine.
Like you can't get rid of racism by just being with everyone just being nice to all races.
Right.
Why not? Why not? Somebody should ask that question. Why not? If everybody was fine, if we had literal world peace, and everybody was super nice, we all worked in harmony and everything was perfect and it was la la land, it was basically the Garden of Eden. If we lived in a utopia, to these people, racism still wouldn't exist. And here's why, is because when they say power, when they say access to the institutions, what they mean is that there is more of one race than there is of another in a given location. To them, that is truly what they say the definition of racism is. The problem is that we live in a society in which racism has a negative connotation because since the invention of the word, it's meant to be bigoted towards somebody on the basis of their race. And so when they change the definition to mean essentially that there is an unequal amount of people of a certain race, it's going to cause some problems.
If we all willingly participate in this social arrangement, then does that make us all racists?
And everybody, you are seeing in real time a not very smart person get very, very, very brainwashed.
No, we would just say that folks who have legitimate access and control to these systems sanctioned by the state. So those of us who are white.
So are you saying that all white people are racist?
Yes.
Like, pin drop moment right there. Because all of them are like, excuse me? Yeah. And they all seem really, really skeptical. Good for them, most of them at least. And this is the problem with American institutions. Reminder, everybody, this video was getting shown around at a North Carolina college. And Davidson College, which is the name of it, which don't send your kids there, by the way. And if you currently are in any way like donating to the school, pull your funding because they're showing this and forcing this down athletes' throats. Davidson College defended the use of this video against the alumni that are trying to challenge it and the syllabi that followed with it in an emailed statement to the College Fix earlier or last month in March, saying, quote, students encounter many ideas, perspectives, and beliefs about the world at college. And even though a reading or event is assigned, that doesn't mean that anyone at the college expects students to agree with every idea they encounter. Learning and teamwork is about exploring different ideas, countering with better ones, and expanding knowledge. And this is true. When when Davidson College says that, they have a point in that is what learning is supposed to do. Expand your ideas and understand different perspectives. But if this is not immediately followed with, by the way, the real and correct definition of racism essentially is bigotry towards somebody on the basis of their race, then they are doing a disservice to these students because they are allowing them to get taught with absolute falsehoods. And that's the problem, is having a difference of ideas is perfectly fine, but claiming that there's a difference in fact is a disservice and lying. And not just a disservice to those students, but a disservice to the overall society that now is getting lied to in perpetuity. The lie will continue to spread, the web will get larger, and we'll all get caught in it, whether you like it or not. But apparently, to answer the question from the very beginning, am I a racist? Or I'm not a racist, am I? At least according to these people, if you look like me, you probably are. But in the meantime, everybody, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, and did you learn something? Let me know. Share this with your friends and all that fun stuff. God bless you guys. God bless America. And until next time, you've been watching Speechless.